Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Cause Leadership Podcast. We're glad to have you listening in today or watching if you're watching on YouTube. Our guest today is Jody Steinhauer. And Jody, we're glad to have you here today and looking forward to our conversation. You are the founder, president, and chief bargains officer at the Bargains Group. And so we're going to delve into a little bit of that today. And we'll certainly be talking about some of your involvement in the charitable sector as well, which has been quite extensive over a number of years now. But just want to welcome you and start our conversation off just talking a little bit about leadership, some of the things that you've experienced over the years as an entrepreneur and business owner, some of your experiences in dealing with the charitable sector as well. But what's it like to be you these days? Let's start there. How are things business-wise, and what are you focusing on these days?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Dave. What am I focusing on? What aren't I focusing on?
Right.
I have a for-profit, for-purpose business. I founded a charity also, and I founded a social enterprise that's gone global. So, and I have, a husband and 5 children. So I got a lot going on, and quite frankly, the world's a mess on top of everything. So,
Right.
um, I spend majority of my day. These days, we're doing a lot of hiring, which is really positive because there's apparently not a lot of companies that are doing hiring. So we are in growth mode, and we're solving a lot of problems. And that's a great feeling, but it's exhausting. So, it's about kind of keeping as a leader, keeping everybody's momentum going, keeping everybody positive. And, everyone's just working harder than they ever did. And, trying to keep it all going, right? That's
Yeah.
really what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, no lack of uncertainty in today's marketplace, as many organizations and companies are experiencing today. So, how are you managing that? You're juggling quite a bit, obviously, business wise, family wise, hiring wise. How do you, as a leader, juggle or build the resilience to deal with all that you're facing?
Yeah. Keyword resilience there. I think what I'm really strong at is delegation. Um, and really, I would say surrendering, to the fact that I'm never going to do even 50% of what I want to do in a day. So it's constantly reprioritizing every hour. What are the most important 3 things I do in the next hour? What are the important, constantly reevaluating is really, really important to me because my business is a very chaotic, hands-on business. And I need to make sure that when crises are happening, and they're happening all the time, who's got the bandwidth, that I've got my hand on the pulse. And there are going to be things. Yesterday, for example, there was ice storms, right?
Sure.
Absolutely tragic. And we deal with disaster response. So we had to make sure that we had people on deck. If people needed supplies, which they did, blankets and hygiene products. So, it's just about trying to maximize every moment and every conversation I have and then get it complete and then move on to the next, get it complete, move it on to the next. And really that's been my savior. Also, really top grading my team. I would say I've been in business at the Bargains Group. I founded it 37 years. And in the last, I would say 2 to 3 years, I really focused on bringing in better, stronger systems and people. And it's really paid off. Now is the first, there's so many different milestones I can tell you in the last 12 months where I'm like, wow, look where we are now. And to the point of, I'm only in my office 3 days a week and I still work 7, but I'm in my office 3 days a week. And
Yeah.
then there's times where I don't even see a bunch of my people. And I just, through my communication mechanisms of keeping in touch with them,
Yeah.
I know what's going on. They know what's going on, and we're all on the same path. So I think over communicating and delegating would be the 2 biggest things that are really helping us take it to the next level.
That's great. Maybe just for folks that are listening who may not be aware, tell us about the Bargains Group and you established it, as you say, 37 years ago. What does it do today? And
What are
yeah,
you and what do you do? Yeah, absolutely. So Bargains Group, I invented 37 years ago. And my background is fashion and business and marketing. And when I invented it back then, I would go into factories when we actually had lots of factories in Canada. Sadly, we don't. And I would buy up what they called job lots of clothing. And then I would mathematically calculate kind of sizes and colors, what would be a perfect box for a store to receive. I would repackage it that way and then get on the phone and, supply stores coast to coast, discount
Mm.
stores with amazing deals where they could double their money and still kind of be half price of the competition. And if for any of your listeners in Canada, places like Byway and Bargain Heralds and Honest Eds and the old fashioned discount retailers, I'm old, pre Walmart, pre Costco, pre Amazon, pre internet, pre
Yeah,
website. So I know you're laughing, but a lot of people are like, "How did you do that? I didn't understand that."
right.
So, so that's what I did, and then the world changed,
Yeah.
and I started supplying prisons and correctional facilities because they needed basic commodities. And then my life really changed. I had that moment of time. I was volunteering at a homeless shelter,
Mm.
and
Okay.
the social workers asked me if I would watch the clothing room while they ran out and did an errand. And I said, sure. And they didn't come back for 3 hours. And I was like, I got to go to work. When they came back, they had an entire car filled with Zeller's bags, which is a discount department store. And I was really excited. And they thought I was crazy. And they said, why are you so excited? I said, because Zeller's is one of my clients and they're really mean. They're nasty. They don't return phone calls. They don't pay their bills. They're disrespectful to my people. But if
Mm.
they've donated all this stuff to you, I'm going to give them a second opportunity. And they looked at me and shook their head and said, we just spent $10,000, Jody. They donated nothing.
Mm.
And as a donor, I told the charity right then, I will not be donating any money to you anymore if that's how you're wasting my money. In which they said, well, where would we get this stuff? And I said, let's unload those bags and see what you got.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to be physically ill and throw up because everything they put out on the floor, underwear, socks, shampoo, mitts and gloves, and long johns and toothpaste, was from the Bargains Group. So Zellers had bought it from the Bargains Group. I could eyeball it, about $2,500. And this charity just spent $10,000. So I recognized there that I had a purpose.
Yeah.
And that was 27 years ago. So my largest division at the Bargains Group is serving charities, not for profits, and donors with the gaps that they need and they don't get donated. And if they have to purchase it, we call ourselves the next best thing to free. So that's the biggest part of Bargains Group. We also have 6 warehouses filled with donations so things don't end up in landfill. So if anybody here in Canada has brand new product that they want to make sure goes to a good home, we inventory it, we upcycle it, and we do a 1-for-1. It's a massive, massive program. It's been very successful. And we also have a promotional product swag division, not because we're passionate about that, but because people like dealing with purposeful companies. And if you need to get a logoed pen or whatever, you can buy it from a million people, but companies will say to us, hey, can you do this for us? We'd rather give you more business, or charities will come to us. So that's the Bargains Group where it stands. But then we invented a charity out of necessity. And then most recently, the newest division of Bargains Group is Kits for Cause, which has blown up on a global scale over the last 8 years. So, and that's all about team building and employee engagement, where companies are looking to do good and they want to roll up. They don't want to just write checks anymore. They want to
Yeah.
do something and they want to do good. And that's what Kits for a Cause has got, this Uberized plug and play version that we're proud to tell you we're getting calls from all over the globe, which is really, really exciting because we're doing good. We're growing, but we're making massive impact.
That's amazing. Yeah, Jody, incredible work that you're doing. Before we continue on, you mentioned the charity, which I believe is Engage and Change. Is that right?
Engage and Change is the charity. Yes.
The charity. Tell us a bit about Engage and Change.
Yeah. So Engage and Change was a love project 26 years ago in downtown Toronto. During a horrible snowstorm, a man died in a bus shelter. And again, I was just starting to deal with charities, as I told you. And I was like, this is Toronto. There's more money than God in this city. Why did this man die? So I reached out to the shelters I was serving downtown and asked that question. And I was told, Jody, if the guy had a sleeping bag, he'd be alive. And
Hmm.
Just think about that. You could
Yeah.
save someone's life with a sleeping bag. And I thought,
Yeah.
I can do that. Right.
Hmm.
And I reached out to 20 business leaders in the community and said, we've got a real problem. And we
Yeah.
had a death. I don't want there to be more deaths, but you know what? I've got a solution. I need you to come to my warehouse on Saturday and I need $200. And I got 20 people there. But what I did was I asked about 10 shelters and outreach vans,
Yeah.
what do you need for the next 3 months? And how many people, I'm a business person, I quantified it. What do you need?
Yeah.
And how many people are you going to serve so nobody dies? And they told me, and we
Mm.
donated a bunch of stuff. We set up this kit pack, but then we brought in a street worker, a social worker, a harm reduction worker, someone who we used to call them homeless people. Now we call them people
Mm.
with lived experience, and somebody who is now housed, and a
Yeah.
reporter. And I said, I want to have a really deep, authentic conversation about what is going on and how can we as business leaders make sure this doesn't happen? And it was an unbelievable 20-minute conversation. We learned so much. We then packed the kits. We then loaded up 10 agencies and charities vehicles. And the 20 leaders stood around and you could feel the buzz in the room. And they just said, Jody, like that was the most impactful thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I will never do another golf tournament, gala, rubber chicken dinner, paint a wall, build a bike, put beans in a box. You pick up garbage. You can probably add to that list. I want to do this. Can I bring all my employees and can I bring my family? So Jody's Love Project, I said, I guess we're doing this again. So we named it Project Winter Survival.
Okay.
And and then we got charitable status, not because we needed more paperwork or a charity. I was very happy to do it the way I did because the donors said, we will give you more money to build more kits, but we
Mm.
need a tax receipt.
Right.
So we came up with Engage and Change. It is still a grassroots charity. We have no employees. We try and get everything we possibly can donated. We get money for the things we can't get donated because supply chain has really changed over the last 2 decades. We have to purchase items, and we have an annual event every January. We built $1 million worth of survival kits this January,
Mm.
and we donated them to 160 shelters, outreach, drop-ins, encampments within 3 hours of Toronto, Canada. And I'm proud to tell you that nobody since January 18th this winter has died on our streets. And it was a brutal winter,
Yeah.
brutal. So
Yeah.
our kids are saving lives. And we've basically said as a business leaders, until we have everybody housed, we will continue this project.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I get the sense nobody says no to you. Is that right?
Well, sometimes they say no to me, but I'm okay to have respectful disagreement.
Right.
But I always believe, like, I know what I'm doing in certain areas better than anybody. And, I always say, I'm not charging you to talk to me. It's free consulting. So if you don't agree, that's totally cool. But I think it's important we all listen to each other. So.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding when I say that, but obviously you've got a passion for this. Give us a bit of insight. Where does this passion come from? What drives you from a heart perspective?
Um, I grew up in a very middle class family, but I
Mm.
was brought up with the values that there's always somebody worse off than you.
Mm.
And I'll never forget that. I was always, volunteering, doing something. And I've tried to bring up my kids the same way. Our children, all in this next generation, are very entitled. It's our fault. But I started these projects when I had my first child. It was all around the same time. And I've watched even the attitude, how my kids are different than other
Mm.
kids
Okay.
because they've had exposure to people who've experienced just, I always say, some really crappy luck. Like these
Mhm.
people are you and me with bad luck. And so I think what drives me is I love solving problems. I love putting smiles on people's faces. And by just giving them something like a survival kit, and if I can, an outreach worker has got the hardest job in the world, but if I can help them help more people,
Yeah.
they tell me these stories about how they got someone into the shelter, into the housing because this kit helped and build trust and everything, then that's what drives me, change and impact. And I used to sit on boards of, without naming names, hospitals, and sit there for 3 meetings and plan the colors of the tablecloths and the centerpieces. And I recognize, for me, that's not impact. Like, I did that, but if I can do what I do and make massive impact and keep somebody from dying,
Yeah.
wow. Like and that's what gets me excited. And now I've extended that I teach other business leaders how to do it. And that's, to me, where real change is, because as an entrepreneur, we don't know how to rely on the government and, right grip. We just do what we got to do. And I think there's a massive shift finally happening where business leaders are getting into the space of solving problems. And that's, I think, really good for everybody. So I just love solving problems or giving people ideas and making others successful.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thank you. I want to come back to that, but before we go there, you mentioned about hiring and building team and communications. Give us a sense. How are you building the business from the perspective that you're looking for people who obviously buy into your passion and your heart for what you're doing? Yeah. How do you find folks like that, or what's your story when you're pitching them on working with you?
Well, I think we're all, I mean, I think as a leader, I was taught years ago by Jack Daly, and he
Hmm.
said, you should always be hiring.
Hmm.
And that always has stuck with me. So I'm one of those people, if I'm driving through a Tim Hortons or a Starbucks, or I'm in an Uber and someone's awesome, I'll say to them, hey, you're awesome. And if you're ever looking for something, contact me, because like you would totally fit our culture. So I'm constantly, putting it out there everywhere, right? My team can tell you. But what's really important, we've recognized at our company, is people who are passionate about making impact and purpose, right? It's a purposeful economy now. And that has not been until pretty recent, right? But the challenge is a lot of those people who have those titles work for large corporations, right?
Yeah.
Do wonderful work. And unfortunately, with just recently, there's a lot of people who are losing their jobs. So we're looking for people who can roll up their sleeves and who are purposeful and passionate, but they also have to have an entrepreneurial spirit, we say. So they have to have worked for either a charity or a not for profit or a small business or an entrepreneur or a family business, because I get so many people now in the last month, and wonderful, brilliant people from the corporate sector who are responsible for, ESG or corporate social responsibility. And unfortunately, there's downsizing going on, and they all come to me. The challenge is they're used to having multiple departments and teams under them. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's like, hey, I've got an idea. Okay, tell me. Great, do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Got 6 months of meetings and strategic plans. I can like do, put my finger up. Yep, that's going to work. Let's just do it. And we have found through experience, those people, unfortunately, although they're brilliant from a strategy perspective, they're not activators, right? So I need people who are passionate, but who people who are going to like roll up their sleeves. Like, I got no problem after this. I got a problem. I'm going to go out and load a truck, right? There's no
Yeah.
attitude, right? We got to do what we got to do. And I'll put it out there to the audience. I'm always looking. Kids for a Cause is going global, and they've also got to be able to deal with very high volumes. I always say it's kind of like answering that phone call at 911. Those are the kinds of people, because we never know who's going to call us. We serve charities, and they are not planners. They can't. So when they call and say, oh my God, we have no underwear or no socks or no gloves and there's a snowstorm, we got to just do what we got to do and roll into action and make it happen. So
Yeah.
we want to make it happen, people. That's what we say. And our number one core value is, it's on my wall. We consciously care. And in brackets, it says, we give a shit. Like, that is our number one core value, both suppliers and clients and donors that we serve.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for that perspective. When you were talking earlier too about the leaders that you engage with in the corporate side, but obviously you're engaging with leaders in the charitable side too. Uh,
Yes.
what's your relationship with them when they come to you? They obviously have a need, but I think you're meeting the need and then some. So when you're engaging with charities, what are the experiences you've had that they're facing?
Yeah.
Um, where you've been able to be a solution for them, but also where you've been able to build into them?
Yeah, great question. I'll tell you, I've never seen it like it is in the last 6 to 12 months. Times have
Yeah.
real. I mean, every industry is literally getting, sideswiped, right? Every
Yeah.
massive shift and change going on everywhere. So in the charitable sector, I think the biggest change that everyone's experiencing is lack of funding. So when COVID was going on, governments were just throwing gobs of money at charities to keep their doors open. And it was, thank God, because they were dealing with vulnerable people and they couldn't fundraise and do different things. But when the money ran out and the money stopped, they had to go back and do what they used to do. And the challenge is in most charities that I deal with, and I deal with thousands of charities, the client needs have gone up. So the numbers of people that in any charity, it doesn't know if it's food insecurity or homelessness or violent, every charity has got more people that need help and less funds, right? So
Yeah.
again, there's an obvious equation. So how do you do more with less? That's one of the challenges. That is the biggest challenge. There's also been a massive shift from the corporate sector, and uh, there is no fun in fundraising anymore. That's all I can say. And being a fundraiser is a thankless job. They're trying to validate to an executive director or a board, why are the funds way down? Well, corporations are not doing as well and they're cutting back. But
Yeah.
here's the biggest problem. Corporations are saying, we're not just writing you a check anymore. We want to actually do something. What are
Hmm.
we going to get? And I've run my charity for 27 years like this. I call it the laws of reciprocity. I do not put people on the phone and mail out things and beg for money. I tell stories. And when I tell stories and the right company resonates with the work we're doing, they want to be part of it. But I don't write grant proposals and go wine and dine people, because my concern is that short-term funding and I look for long-term partners. So that's the biggest shift I'm seeing. And the great news is through Kits for a Cause, which really just was invented 8 years ago, and it came out of corporations doing this shift, going to a conference, talking about CSR and employee engagement, and then calling charities and emailing them saying, hey, we are XYZ Bank. We've got 720 employees, and next Thursday it's Impact Day, and we picked you, Mr. Charity.
Yeah.
And what time should we all show up? And the charities are like, holy crap, like, what are we supposed to do? They either say no or, can we get back to you? And then that's if they even answer them. And what ended up happening is we got over 500 corporates that contacted us in 83 days looking for a volunteer experience, and they had a budget. So we created Kits for a Cause out of a necessity of bridging these two sectors together. And I had a choice. I already had a charity that did it really well.
Yeah.
I could have ramped up the charity, but I recognized as an entrepreneur, this was a global problem, not a Canadian or a North American problem. So we decided to, like every entrepreneur, I say R&R, rip off and replicate.
Yeah.
Uh, and I ripped off and replicated my own charity, Engage and Change. And I ripped off and replicated a great company called Match.com, where I was online dating at the time. And the
Okay.
concept of matchmaking causes and charities, and it's just blown up globally. And I'm proud to tell you, like, Fortune 500 companies right across the globe call us. We are doing all the employee engagement now for Amazon. Imagine Amazon's
Wow.
doing it for Gucci. We're doing it for the banks, the insurance companies, because everybody is trying to make their employees happy. And we know that happy employees are great for our bottom line. And not even employees are people, because we're all broken from what's going on in the world. And it's proven we're lonely, we're craving connection. And Kits for a Cause provides this 1 2 hour plug and play Uberized low cost solution that provides a 12 out of 10 connectivity, and at the same time, educating and doing good in the community. So that's why it's exploded, because it's solving a massive problem. and it's extremely affordable.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. How did charities engage with you? Like, how, if they were interested in
yeah,
participating with you as a not only bargaining group but Kids for a Cause, how did they get in touch? And
they literally go to Kids for a Cause,
Mhm.
go to the website and or email us or whatever. And literally it happens all day long. Help. We desperately need supplies. Can you help us? We get those called all day long. So we say, great, we can totally help you. Go on our platform. It'll take you 3 minutes, register as a charity, and we'll book a call with you and we'll tell you how it works. And basically we teach charities for free and we do it for them. We're their outsourced engagement partner. And when they get those calls from those companies I mentioned to you,
Yeah.
we coach them and we teach them how to say yes, not no, and
Mm.
say yes, and then direct them to us. And then we take over and plan everything for them in a sustainable way. And we say to them, we want you to educate these donors. We have a whole process we do, but it's literally like 5 steps. And they're just blown away of how simple we've made it, and how we're also addressing bigger problems. And a bigger problem, to let you know, is 3/4 of donations of gift in kind that go to charities are not what they need, but they're too nice to tell you that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so they end up having to give it away. So we're really focusing on what do they really need in real time, and how can we connect this donor to them that they're going to help them ongoing and
Yeah.
build a deeper relationship. And it works, right? That's
Yeah.
really all I say. It's working.
You mentioned earlier that you're a storyteller. You're also an author, obviously, as well. But is there one or two stories that stand out to you over the last, let's just say over the last 6 to 12 months that you could share with us?
Every day there's 100 stories. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I, I just can't tell you. There's so many stories. I have to say, from being a proud entrepreneur and business owner, when a company like Amazon found us on Google, okay, and we always say to everybody, we don't advertise. Just to let you know, we have no salespeople, we have no business development people. My philosophy is, if you do really good work and you consistently deliver a 5-star experience,
Mm.
you never lose a customer,
Yeah.
uh, and they're going to tell somebody. So Amazon called us and said, we've heard about you. We're doing a big conference for our C-suite, and they're really big on philanthropy, and we don't know what we're doing. Can you help us? So we planned this of 2 events. We brought 2 charities. We planned 2 Kits for a Cause events for them. And we got a call back, and this was from a very, high up the ladder American, uh, who said to us, in all the years I've been doing this, I've never seen such a fine tuned, well oiled machine. And the fact that you didn't even come to the event, you prepared us. Everyone was blown away. We're putting
Mm.
you forward. We want you to do this for all of North America. Right.
Wow.
And, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a little Canadian company. Right. So when someone in the States, and that story has come from Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, banks, insurance companies, I get to hear that over and over and then share that with my team. I think that's a great story, because so many people are having challenges these days. And the fact that we just keep getting, yesterday alone, I got 3 more Amazon locations calling us. Can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? So to me, what resonates with me and my people is, what did we learn from that? What did we do really well that this woman, Portia, loved? And how do we replicate that and scale
Mm.
that? Because if that's what's working, let's just keep on doing it. Right. But on the other hand, other stories are, you know, if we hear something that didn't go so well for whatever reason, we want to learn from that. Right. We want to learn. I can't even tell you. There's so many stories. If you want to ask me a topic I could talk about, but
Yeah.
my
Okay.
life is a story, and I just want to, when we had the ice storms yesterday, for example, one of the big disaster relief immediately came to us,
Mm.
and I immediately said to my team, here's the area that have been impacted. Get on the phone and call your charities and see how they are. Right
Mm.
now, we learned that because a few years ago in Alberta, we had Fort McMurray who went on fire.
Yeah.
And
Right.
when Fort McMurray went on fire, this is normally what happens when there's a disaster. We get 3 phone calls, one from the Salvation Army, one from the Red Cross, and one from the government. And they're
Hmm.
usually all in a room bidding on who's going to be looking after this. And they're all calling me. That's the joke. I always like, are you guys in Ottawa? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're good. We've got warehouses filled with products. And we were responsible for deploying all of the supplies immediately, first to the first responders and then to the people who had been evacuated. So those are the stories where my team's incredible, but when you have a disaster like that and you just see, you don't even have to tell people what to do. Everybody just jumps in. You don't have to say, can you stay late? They just do it. That to me as a leader shows me that I've got the right people on the bus. And there's obviously one or two that may not.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. One last question, Jody, as we wrap up. Obviously, you've been a leader now for a few decades, and leadership leadership is
Exhausting.
well, it can be exhausting. It certainly has its challenges today, and when you look at whether it's the corporate leaders that you engage with or the charitable leaders that you engage with, what's the best way we can encourage them? What are the things that they need to hear from those of us who are cheering them on?
I think they have to hear what they're doing right.
Hmm.
Right. I think
Yeah.
a lot of the leaders I see, they're just so overwhelmed with so much, but I think it's really important. I think what we need to tell them and is build their confidence and build their resiliency and say, hey, I know you're really struggling. Firstly, I always say is identify that it's okay to feel that way. I think it's being authentic. And that's
Yeah.
really who I am. Acknowledging first that I'm not okay. And how are you doing? And
Hmm.
when you can talk to someone one on one like that, especially in the corporate world, they are so relieved and they feel you build that trust. And that's when I can really help them. I think it's just being back to being old fashioned and being authentic and being a great listener and allowing them a safe space to potentially dump because I think leaders, we're all expected to know all of the answers and do everything really well. So we got bad days too, right? Where do we go? So I think I'm just constantly encouraging people to say, hey, it's okay,
Yeah.
right? Like focus on what you can do and the other stuff, you may not get it all done and it's okay. But if we all can really just build their confidence, because I don't think leaders, they always say it's lonely at the top. I don't, I don't think they hear enough the good things they do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. Thank you. So just remind us before we leave. We've got Bargains Group, we've got Engage and Change, and we've got Kids for a Cause.
Yeah.
Who should contact what organization when they have a need?
Well, if you love bargains, go to bargainsgroup.com. Anybody can buy as long as you can buy a box, right?
Okay,
That's
there you go.
like
That's good.
if you need promotional products or anything with your logo on it, we can look after that.
Okay.
If you're donating something to a charity, if you feel like giving a box of gloves to your local church group or a shelter,
Yeah.
please don't pay retail. Come here. We'll give you
Mhm.
donations too. So that's really Bargains Group. If you're looking to do a group volunteer or team building experience from 2 people to 10,000,
Yeah.
that's Kids for a Cause.
Okay.
And we'd be happy to design and execute the event for free. The only cost for the event is the product. But remember, I own a wholesale distribution company, so it's
Right.
pretty cost effective. And if you're a charity and you need donations, please register on Kids for a Cause and we will get you donors.
Okay.
And if you're in the Toronto area and you have a team and you want to come out in January and be part of a massive facilitated event, come to Engage and Change. And if you're a charity who serves the homeless and the hardest to house within Ontario, come to Engage and Change and get on the list to be the recipient of these donations.
Okay. Oh, that's great. And we'll make sure all of those are in the show notes as well, as far as websites and that type of thing. Jody, thank you so much for sharing with us today. Your work is fascinating and obviously touching many lives, not only corporate lives who are trying to give back, but also those who are recipients and stakeholders in the charitable sector in Canada today. And as we know, the need is huge. So appreciate all that you're doing on that front, and just grateful for your time today and sharing with us some of what you're up to.
I'm grateful too, and like I said too, we're always hiring, David. So, know any purposeful people you come across who aren't being fulfilled? Tell them to call me.
I know a few. Anyways, Jody, thanks again. Really
You.
appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too.